Okay, we're going to start off with GCSE Foundation Module T2, and this is from May 2011, and you can see there it's 1.5 hours long. There's 24 questions, so roughly, so as you don't run out of time, be sure that every half hour you've done at least 8 questions. And obviously you'll need a bit more time for the later questions, but at least you make sure that every 30 minutes you've done 8 questions. Please note you're allowed a calculator in this T2 module, and just remind you again, any working should be clearly shown in the space provided, since marks may be awarded for partially correct solutions. Please show your working to collect as many marks as you can. Okay, formula sheet in Foundation only contains 2 formulas, area of a trapezium and the volume of a prism, but if you need them, make sure to look at the formula sheet. Okay, first question is question 1A, stem and leaf diagram. If you stop the video and have a look at that, try and do that yourself, and we'll go through the solution. Okay, so here's question 1A. And we've got a stem and leaf diagram. First thing to notice is the key. Please make sure you read the key first, because the important thing about this key is that it's telling you these numbers 3, 5, 5, 1, 4, 6 or whatever, they're 3.5, 5.1 and 4.6. Remember, there's a decimal point in there. Very important that you don't forget about the decimal point. The range, hopefully you'll remember, is the biggest, take away the smallest. So we can see the biggest here is 5.4. Let's write it down, 5.4. And the smallest is down here is 3.5. So we're going to write that underneath, and we're going to take those away, and the answer is 1.9. Obviously you can do that on your calculator, but don't forget the decimal point. The median, again, you need to remember the median of a set of numbers is the middle number when they're put in order. Now you could write these all out in order from the stem and leaf diagram, or perhaps a simpler way of doing it is to work your way through the stem and leaf diagram, marking off the biggest and the smallest until you get to the middle. So the biggest is obviously 5.4, the smallest is 3.5. Biggest now is 5.3, smallest 3.7. Biggest 5.1, 3.8, 4.9, 3.9, 4.9, 4.2, 4.8, 4.5, and you're left in the middle there. The median is 4.6. Okay, so just have a look at the next part, which is 1B. It's a pie chart. If you shut down the video now and have a go at that, and then we'll go through the solution. Here's question 1B, and it's a pie chart question. So it's telling us in this table the number of buns sold in a bakery. So we've got different types of bun, and we need to add up first, add up the total. If you add those up, you should get a total of 60. So now you need to remember that we're going to show this information about these 60 buns in the pie chart. So we're going to have to share the whole circle of the pie chart between these 60 items. So you need to think that you've got 360 degrees in the whole pie chart, the circle of the pie chart. We're sharing between the 60 items we're going to display. So that means each one of them gets 6 degrees. So each one of these 60 items here is going to get 6 degrees of our pie chart. So each one gets 6, so 16 of them is going to get 16 multiplied by 6 is 96 degrees. These 10, each one of those is getting 6 degrees, so the 10 of them are going to get 60 degrees. The next one, 9 there, each one of them is getting 6 degrees, so 9 of them get 9 times 6 is 54 degrees. And then the last one, multiplying by 6 again, they get 150 degrees. And then as a check, make sure you add up all the degrees that you've calculated there, and they should add up to 360 degrees. That's a useful check to make sure you've done the calculation correctly. So now you're ready to draw your pie chart. So start off with your 96 degrees. I'm not going to draw it here on the screen, but so from that line, draw your 96 degrees, draw your 96 degrees down here. From the last line you drew, then you're going to measure the next angle, which is 60 degrees. From the last line you drew, you're going to measure the next angle, which is 54 degrees. And then finally, when you measure the last angle to close up the pie chart, it should be 150 degrees. Then obviously if your angles are correct and you've got all your sections labeled, you'll get all the marks for your pie chart, which is 4 marks. Okay, so the next question then, question 2. So if you could stop the video now and have a go at question 2. We'll go through the solution. So let's just remind yourself, this is question 2, and they're asking us to separate various numbers into different categories: odd, even, prime, square, cube. Probably a good idea just to make a little list of each one first. So the odd numbers, hopefully everyone can see we've got 3, we've got 5, we've got 7, and we've got 15. Then the evens obviously those are the ones that end in 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So we've got 4, we've got 8, and we've got 16. The primes, just to remind you, have only 2 factors, 1 and the number itself. So we've only got 3, 5, and 7. Obviously 4 isn't prime because 2 also divides into it. 8 isn't prime because 2 and 4 also divide into 8. So they can't be prime numbers. The square numbers, just to remind you, numbers that are multiplied by themselves. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2, 4, 3 times 3, 9, and so on. And cube number is where the number is multiplied by itself again. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 3, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So the first one, the odd number, would take 3 first. It's odd and it's also prime, so 3 goes into that box. We can score that off. 4 then is an even number, and we look, is it a square number or a cube number? It's a square number, so 4 goes into that box. Next one is 5. 5 is an odd number and it's also prime, so 5 goes into that box. 7 then is an odd number and it's also prime, so 7 goes into that box. 8 is an even number. It's not a square number because we've worked them out there, but it is a cube number, so 8 goes into this box. 15 then, we go down, it's an odd number. Is it prime or not prime? Just check again. 15 has got lots of factors, 3, 5, 1 and 15, so it's not prime. And then the last one, 16, is an even number. Is it square or cube? It's a square number because it's 4 times 4, so that's the answer to question 2. Okay, I'll just put up question 3 for you. So question 3 looks like that. If you want to have a go at that, just stop the video and we'll go through the solution. For question 3, we've got the key bits of information are the size of the carton, the width and the length are 6 and 11, and the height of the juice in the carton is 10.5. It's all been put on the diagram for us there, and they want us to find the volume of juice left in the carton in milliliters. So we need to remember our dimensions are in centimeters, so when we work out the volume it's going to be in centimeter cubed, but that's identical. 1 centimeter cube is identical to 1 milliliter, so it's just a straight conversion. Whatever the volume is in centimeter cube, it'll be the same volume in milliliters. So we need to remember the formula for the volume of a cuboid is length times width times height. You need to learn that off, and then we're just going to put the numbers in. The length is 11, the width is 6, and the height is 10.5. So we're going to multiply those three together and we get 693 centimeter cubed. And remember, centimeter cubed is the same as milliliters, so the answer is 693 milliliters. Looking down to the second part, part B, this time it tells us that John pours himself some juice. The volume in the carton is now less, it's now 412.5. It's gone down from 693 from what it was. What's the height of the juice above the base now? So if you can imagine, the some liquids have been taken out, so the level of the liquid in the carton is now somewhere like that. We don't know exactly where, but we're going to call this height h, and we're going to try and find what is the height up to that red line there. So again, our formula hasn't changed. It's still volume equals length times width times height. So we know the length of the carton hasn't changed. It's still 11 centimeters. The width hasn't changed. It's still 6 centimeters. But the height we don't know, and we're calling it h. And we're given that that volume, that new volume here, is 412.5. So we know that 11 times 6 is 66 multiplied by h equals 412.5. But we want to find h on its own. So we want to get rid of this multiply by 66, and remember we have to do the opposite then of multiply by 66, which is divide by 66. So h is going to be equal to 412.5 divided by 66, which is 6.25 centimeters. So the height, that height that's gone down from the 10.5 has ended up at 6.25 centimeters, and that's your answer. So here's question 4 on this paper. It's on the whole page, so I'll have to show you the top half first. So here you're given a map of an island. There's a couple of hotels on the island. One's the Atlas and the other's the Barracuda. And what questions are they going to ask you here? So just scrolling down, you have to calculate the actual distance of the Atlas from the Barracuda, and you need to notice here that there's a scale of 1 centimeter on the map is 5 kilometers on the ground. And then the next bit is to mark the position of a new hotel, which is to the northeast of the Hotel Barracuda, and it's at a distance of 25 kilometers. You've got to mark that position of the new hotel, and then finally what's the bearing of the Atlas from the Barracuda. So you need to scroll back and forth on the video to have a look at, see how you're going to figure out how to do those. So I'll go through the solution. In the first part of this question, we are asked to find the distance, the actual distance between the two hotels, the Atlas and the Barracuda. So we have a map here with the two hotels on. We've got to measure the, what we might call the map distance. So when we put a ruler between the Atlas and the Barracuda, we can see the distance measured there is 8.4, and of course that's 8.4 centimeters, but we know each centimeter is actually 5 kilometers actual distance, so we need to multiply 8.4 by 5 to get the actual distance on the ground, and that distance then is 42 kilometers. So our answer is 42. So for part B, 4B, they've told us that there's a new hotel called the Capri. It's going to be built 25 kilometers northeast of the Hotel Barracuda. So let's just check again. If you can't remember exactly where northeast is, do your compass points, north, east, south, west, and northeast then is halfway between north and east at an angle of 45 degrees from north. So if you go back up then to the diagram, we're going to get our protractor, there's the Hotel Barracuda. We're going to put the 0 line of the protractor along the north line, and we're going to measure 45 degrees from that 0 line, and along that line there is going to lie this new hotel. So let's just draw the line in there. So we don't know exactly where it is, but it's somewhere along that line. Okay, so let's just get rid of the protractor now. So now we've got the Barracuda. There's the Barracuda. That line should be just down a little bit there. Roughly about there. So there's the Barracuda, and that's our 45 degree line. But it told us that the distance was 25 kilometers. So remember, the scale tells us that 1 centimeter is 5 kilometers. So 25 kilometers, we're going to have to think, how many 5 kilometers are there in 25 kilometers? 25 divided by 5 is 5. So that means the distance along this line is going to be 5 centimeters. So we need to get our rule and measure 5 centimeters along that line. We can mark it with an X. It says to mark it with an X, so that's the point there. I'll just move away the ruler, and then again, to be sure, mark it with an X, and that's the position of the Capri. Just write the hotel name beside it to be on the safe side. So that's the position marked for the Capri. So the last part of this question, 4C, is asking us, what's the bearing of the Atlas from the Barracuda? So if you look back up at the diagram, bearing, remember, is these measurements in degrees that are measured clockwise from north. So the Atlas from the Barracuda, so if you remember, wherever the from, the word after the from, that's where the north line is. So we've got from the Barracuda, so there's the north line at the Barracuda, and we're going to have to measure the angle from north clockwise all the way around until we get to the line that's pointing towards the Atlas. So it's that big angle there, and probably the easiest way to do that is to measure this smaller angle there and take it away from 360. So if we bring in the protractor, we can put our protractor on to the north line there, and we can see that when we measure that angle, it's 0, 10, 20, 30, 45 degrees. So we know that that angle is 45, and this means, so that's 45. But remember, the bearing is always going clockwise in this direction round to here, so the angle we're after then is 360 degrees. Take away 45, which is 315 degrees. So our answer down below then for the bearing is 315 degrees. 15 degrees. Okay, so there's question 5. There's quite a few parts to it. If you stop the video and have a go at that, we'll go through the solutions in a few minutes. So for question 5, we've got various number questions. For this first one, the cube root of 64, you need to learn that you've got a special key in your calculator. You need to make sure you know where it is on your calculator, because they're different on different calculators. Usually it looks like this. It's got that what looks like a square root sign, but there's a little 3 inside it, and that's telling you it's the cube root. So you just press that key, put in the number 64, press equals, and you get the answer 4. Next one, 3.3 squared plus 6 cubed, or 6 to the power of 3. So again, you've got a special square key on your calculator. It's usually got x squared on it. So all you have to do is put in 3.3, press the x squared button, and you get the answer 10.89. And then 6 cubed, you may have a special cubed button on it. It'll probably have x to the power of 3 or x cubed on it. Again, you can key the number 6 in, press that key, or you can just do 6 times 6 times 6, get your answer 216, and then when you add those together you get 226.89. Next one, 2 to the power of 7. There's a special power button on your calculator again for putting in higher powers. So this is 2 to the power of 7, which is, you can think of it either as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. In other words, 7 2's multiplied together. You can work it out that way. Or there's a special power button which looks on some calculators like this, an X with a little square there where the power number should be. And all you have to do is key in 2, press that key, and then put in the number 7 to tell it what the power is, and equals, and you should get the answer 128. Or some calculators still have this little symbol here to indicate the power. In that case you put in 2, press this key here and put in the number 7, and you should get 128. You need to try that on your calculator so that you know it works on your calculator. 23.35, correct to 3 significant figures. So there's the number 23.35. The first significant figure is the first number that isn't a 0, so that's the 2. We don't want it. We want the third significant figure. So the second significant figure is that 3 there, and the third significant figure is this second 3. Put a little line under that, and then we're going to look at the number to the right of that. It's a 5. The rules for rounding say if it's 5 or more, we're going to round this number 3 up. So we do that by adding 1 to it. So that becomes a 4, and the answer is 23.4. And the last one in this question is write down a prime number between 48 and 58. There's probably no easy way to do this because it's very difficult to learn off all the prime numbers. But what you need to learn is, need to remember is that a prime number only has 2 factors. 2 numbers that divide into it, 1 and itself. So if you can find any other number that divides into the number, it's not prime. So take 49. 7 divides into 49, so it's not prime. Take the next number, 50. 5 divides into 50, and 2 and 10, so it's not prime. 51. 3 divides into 51. By the way, remember there's a quick way of finding out if a number can be divided by 3. You just add the 2 digits together. 5 add 1 makes 6. 6 can be divided by 3, so that means 3 divides into 51. 52 is an even number. It ends in 2, so it divides by 2. 53, we'll just leave that one for a minute. Go on to 54. 54 divides by 2 because it's an even number, so it can't be prime. 55 ends in 5, so it divides by 5. It can't be prime. 56, an even number, it ends in 6. It divides by 2, so it can't be prime. 57, check if it divides. It doesn't divide by 2 because it's not even. Check if it divides by 3. 7 add 5 makes 12. And 12, you can divide 3 into it exactly, so 57 divides by 3. So that leaves 53 is the only number there that doesn't divide by any other number other than 1 and itself, so the answer is 53. Okay, we'll just scroll down to the next one. So have a look at number 6 there, have a go at it, and we'll go through the solution. Okay, so there's question 6. It's a bit easier to read that one there if you have a go at that, and then we'll go through the solution in a minute. Okay, so question 6, we've got a Question says he's got 900 quid a month that he earns. He spends a quarter of it on rent and a fifth in computer games. What fraction does he have left? Probably the easiest way is to add the two fractions together. So we've got 1 quarter plus 1/5, and remember, we can't add those together unless we make them the same type of fraction, because a quarter and a fifth are different types of fraction. So best thing here to do is to change them into 20ths. So we're going to change 1 quarter into something over 20, and we're going to change 1/5 into something over 20. So looking at the quarter first, to change the 4 into a 20, we've multiplied by 5, so we'll multiply the top by 5. So 1 quarter is identical or equivalent to 5/20. 1/5, we've multiplied the 5 by 4 to turn it into 20, so we're going to multiply the top by 4. So 1/5 is equivalent to 4/20. Now that we've got them the same, we can add the two top numbers together. So 5/20 plus 4/20 is 9/20. So now we know he's spent 9/20 of the £900. How much, or what fraction does he have left? We know 9/20 have gone, so we're going to take the 9/20 away from 1, and obviously 1 is 20/20, so it's 20/20 take away 9/20, and we subtract the two top numbers. 20 take away 9 is 11/20. So the answer, the fraction remaining, is 11/20. There's another way of doing this, slightly longer, but gives you exactly the same answer. We can work out actually the money spent for each of the things. So a quarter of 900 on the rent is 900 divided by 4, which is £225. For the computer games, a fifth of 900 is 900 divided by 5, which is £180. So the total spent then is 225 plus 180, which is £405 spent. So the money he has left from the 900 then is 900 take away 405, which is £495. But the question's asking for the fraction left, so the fraction left is 495 over 900, and remember you have a special fraction button on your calculator. If you want to simplify that, it gives you the answer 11/20, which is what we had up above. Okay, so have a look at question 7, have a go at it yourself, and we'll go through the solution in a minute. Okay, so for number 7, we've got 500 grams of beef mince. I've circled the key numbers here. So 500 grams of beef mince at £8.30 per kilogram. First thing you need to notice is that the weight is in grams and the price is in kilograms. So we're going to have to change the grams into kilograms. You need to remember that there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. So we're going to have to remember that that's going to be 500 divided by 1,000, which is 0.5 kilograms of beef mince at that price. And again, 300 grams at £9.50 per kilogram. So we're going to have to change the 300 grams into kilograms. Dividing by 1,000, that's going to give us 0.3 kilograms. So looking at Anya's prices then, 0.5 kilograms times £8.30 is £4.15, and 0.3 kilograms times £9.50 is 2.85, so her total is £7. Looking at Barney's purchases then, so we've got 400 grams of lamb mince at 10.20 per kilogram. Again, we've got to change the 400 grams into kilograms by dividing by 1,000, so that's 0.4 kilograms multiplied by his price, which is £10.20. Then we've got 400 grams at £7 per kilogram, so again we're going to change that into kilograms. 0.4 kilograms times 7 equals £2.80. When we add those two together, we get £6.88. So we can see that Anya's price is more expensive, and the difference when we subtract the two totals is 12p or 0.12 pounds. So our answer, Anya pays 12p more. Okay, there's question 8a, b and c. So if you want to stop the video and have a go at those first, and then we'll go through the solutions in a minute. Okay, so question 8a, we've got a question which asks us to solve the equation p over 6 equals 3. Remember, you see the word solve, that means you have to work out what number must the letter, in this case p, what number must the letter p be equal to make this equation correct. The other thing now, when you look at p over 6 means p divided by 6. So we've got p divided by 6 is equal to 3. It's like we want to get rid of the divide by 6 by doing the opposite of dividing by 6, and that means we have to multiply by 6. So our answer is p is equal to 3 multiplied by 6, which is 18. And check it on your calculator. If p is 18, we've got 18 divided by 6 is equal to 3, which is correct. For the second part, we have to solve another equation, but first there's a little bit of simplification to do first, because we've got 2t here and we've got another plus t here, so we can combine those together. 2t plus t gives us 3t, and then the green, I've circled in green, minus 5 minus 2. Remember, the sign goes with the number or the letter. So we've got minus 5 minus 2 equals minus 7. If you're not sure about those, just key it into your calculator. So now that side of the equal sign, when we combine them all together, we get 3t minus 7 is equal to the 5 on the right hand side of the equal sign. Now we're ready to solve the equation. That minus 7, we don't want that number there on the left hand side of the equation, so we're going to bring it over to the right hand side to be next to the 5, and when we bring it over, the minus 7 becomes a plus 7. You can think of it as change the side, change the sign. So now we've got 3t, the minus 7 has gone to the other side, so it's 5 plus 7. So that means 3t is equal to 12. Now we're ready to solve, do the final step, which is we don't want 3 times t, we just want t in its own. So we've got to do the opposite of multiplying by 3, which is dividing by 3. So t is equal to 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So our answer is 4. Part B then, next two numbers in the sequence. Remember, you always have to do this little working out of what the difference is between the numbers, each set of numbers in the sequence. So when you go from 22 to 20, that's minus 2. 20 to 16 is minus 4. 16 to 10 is minus 6. So by now, if you've written those down underneath, you can see the pattern. So the next number is going to be minus 8. So it's going to be 10 minus 8 is 2. And then the next number, it's increasing by 2 each time. So it's minus 8 goes to minus 10. So again, if you're not sure, put it into your calculator. 2 minus 10 is equal to minus 8. So our numbers are 2 and minus 8. The last one there, part C. Write down the first 3 terms of the sequence whose nth term is n squared plus 9. Right, so there's a little method you have to remember how to do this. So write down whatever the formula for the nth term is. In this case it's n squared plus 9. The first term is always found by putting n is equal to 1 because it's the first term. So n is equal to 1. So in the formula we're going to substitute the number 1 for the n each time. So in this case it's going to be 1 squared plus 9, and that is 10. For the second term, n is going to be equal to 2 now because it's the second term. So this time, anytime we see the n in the formula, we're going to substitute the number 2. So n squared becomes 2 squared plus 9. 2 squared is 4, add 9 is 13. Third term, n is equal to 3. So this time n squared is 3 squared plus 9. So 3 squared is 9, add 9 is 18. So our answer then is 10, 13 and 18. Okay, so have a look at question 9. So switch off the video and try it yourself, and then we'll go through the solution in a minute. Okay, so for question 9, what are we given here? We're told that the ticket for a show costs £8. The child ticket costs £4 less than that, so the cost of a child ticket is A, take away 4. The 4 less just means take away 4 from whatever the adult ticket costs, so that's A, take away 4. So the answer A minus 4. Daisy buys 2 adult tickets, so remember they cost £8, so 2 of them is going to cost 2A, and 3 child tickets, so we know from the first part that the child ticket is A minus £4, but we want 3 of those, so we're going to have to put 3 multiplied by inside the bracket A minus 4. And we're told that the total cost of those 2 adult and 3 child tickets is £23, so we can write that out as an equation: 2A plus 3 brackets A minus 4, close the brackets, equals the total cost, which is 23. So that's the answer to part B. Then it asks us in the next part to solve that equation to find what A is, find the cost of this adult ticket A. So if you write out our equation again, hopefully you can see that we've got to do something with the brackets first. We've got to expand or multiply out the bracket. So 2A stays the same, we don't touch it. We're going to multiply each term inside the bracket by the 3. So 3 times A gives you 3A, and 3 times minus 4 gives you minus 12. So we've got 2A plus 3A minus 12 equals 23. So we've got 2A plus 3A here. They're the same type of term. They're both A terms, so we can add them together. So now we've got 2 plus 3 is 5A, minus 12 equals 23. Now we're ready to get the two numbers together, so we've got 23 over here and we've got a minus 12 on this side of the equation. So we're going to move the minus 12 over to the other side of the equation, and when we move it to the other side we have to remember to change the sign, so minus 12 becomes plus 12. So now we've got 5A, the minus 12 has gone away to the other side and it's become 23 plus 12. So now we've got 23 add 12 is 35. So now we've got 5A equals 35. And then the last step is, this is 5 times A equals 35. But we want to know what A is on its own. So we've got to get rid of the times by 5. We do that by doing the opposite of timesing by 5, which is dividing by 5. So A is equal to 35. Divide by 5 equals 7. Okay, so here's question 10. The Ross family eat 3/5 of a loaf of bread each day. How much will they need to buy for 9 days? So try that one and we'll go through turn off the video, we'll go through it in a couple of minutes. Okay, so question 10, it tells us 3/5 of a loaf each day and the least number of loaves for 9 days. So we're going to take the 3/5 and we're going to times it by 9 because it's for 9 days. Now you have a calculator with a fraction key, so you can key 3/5 in using your fraction key, then times by 9, and you'll be given the answer 27 over 5. Now you can change, that's a top heavy fraction, you can change it into a mixed number, a whole number and a fraction, by dividing by 5. 5 into 27 goes 5 times remainder 2, so that gives you 5, and the remainder 2 is 2/5. Also on your calculator, when you get your 27 over 5, there's another key. It's S to D key. It changes that fraction into a decimal. If you press that S to D key, you get the answer 5.4. So in effect, as a fraction, it's 5 2/5 loaves or 5.4 loaves, but of course you can't buy 2/5 of a loaf, so you've got to buy the next whole number of loaves, so the answer is 6. Okay, so here's another one to have a go at, question 12. It's about parallel lines, so have a look at that, have a go at it, and we'll go through the answers in a minute. Okay, so for question 12, you're told that the three lines are parallel, and you're given a couple of angles, 96 and 60, and you're asked to work out angles X, Y, and Z. So starting off with X, you really need to remember that at parallel lines, if there's a line crossing the two parallel lines, then the angles on the opposite side of that line are called alternate angles, and they're equal. So X is equal to this angle 60. You haven't been asked for a reason, but the reason is that they're alternate angles. Next one, angle Y. There's a couple of ways of thinking about this. The other angle you need to remember at parallel lines are that this angle Y and this angle 96 are called interior angles. They're on the inside of the two parallel lines, and they add up, Y and 96 add up to 180. So you can work out Y by taking 96 away from 180, which is 84 degrees. Or you can think to yourself, 96 and this angle here make a straight line angle. So again, that's 180. So this angle must be 84. And that angle and Y are alternate angles, so they're equal. So either way, Y is equal to 84 degrees. Then the last one, Z, you hopefully can see that there's a big triangle there with the three angles X, Y, and Z in it. We already know X is 60 and Y is 84, so we add those together to get 144. And then the angles in the triangle add up to 180. So this third angle Z is 180, take 144, is 36 degrees. Okay, so here's question 13 to try. Can I point out to you, this is one of the questions that's going to be assessing your quality of written communication. It'll mention this at the head of the questions involved. And that means they want you to explain clearly, either in mathematical formulas or methods, how you're arriving at your answer, or if there's an explanation needed in words, such as for part B, you need to write down the explanation clearly. So have a go at that, and we'll go through it in a minute. Okay, so question 13, first part A is calculate the circumference of this coin. Again, I've circled the key bits of information. It's got a radius of 1.4 centimeters, and you need to remember the formula for the circumference of a circle is C is equal to pi multiplied by the diameter. So first of all, you've got to remember the measurement you've been given is the radius. So you've got to remember that you've got to double the radius to get the diameter, so it's going to be pi multiplied by 2.8. Make sure you know where the special pi key is in your calculator, so use the pi key multiplied by 2.8 and you should get the answer 8.796. Then for part B, explain why the sum of the interior angles in a regular pentagon is 540 degrees. Now, the easiest way to explain this is to say that the pentagon can be divided into three triangles. So remember, pick one corner and draw the diagonals across from one corner to the opposite corners. You end up with three separate triangles. Each of those triangles has 180 degrees in it. So all three triangles together will have 3 times 180 is 540 degrees. Okay, so here's question 14. You've been asked to draw the graph of y is equal to 4 minus 3x on the graph paper. So you can try that if you have any graph paper or even squared paper. Just have a go at it first and then we'll go through it. Okay, so for question 14 we have to draw the graph, and we have the equation y is equal to 4 minus 3x. And you need to remember before you can draw a graph, you're really going to have to draw a table like this to work out the values. So first of all, at the top line of the table, you're going to put in the x values that you're going to use. In this case, I've chosen x is equal to 0, 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to use those x values to work out what the corresponding y values are. Using this formula here, it tells us that y is going to be equal to 4 take away 3x. So whatever x is, we're going to multiply it by 3 and take it away from 4. Okay, so we'll start off with x is equal to 0. So if x is equal to 0, 3x, hopefully everyone can see, is going to be 0. So we end up with 4 take away 0, which is 4. So for when x is equal to 0, y, the y coordinate to allow us to plot the point, is going to be 4. Move on to x is equal to 1. So we're going to substitute x is equal to 1 in this equation. So we've got 3 times x, 3 times 1 is 3. So that's 4 take away 3. And that answer is 1. So in this case, y is equal to 1 when x is equal to 1. Okay, try x is equal to 2. So we're going to substitute the number 2 for every time we see x in this equation. So x is 2 multiplied by 3 gives us 6. So this time we know that y is 4 minus 6. And 4 take away 6 is minus 2. Last one, x is equal to 3. So 3x is 3 times 3, which is 9. So this time y is 4 take away 9. Again, if you're not sure, key that into your calculator. 4 minus 9 gives you minus 5. So now we've got 4 coordinates to plot. 0, 4, 1, 1, 2 minus 2, and 3 minus 5. So you'll see I've plotted them here on the graph. First one was 0, 4, 1, 1, 2 minus 2, and 3 minus 5. So I've got my 4 points plotted there in red, and then you have to remember to join them up with a straight line. You can extend the line as far up and below the points, because it's a straight line. It's going to keep on going forever in either direction, and that's how you draw the equation of any straight line, by doing a table, working out your coordinate points using values of x like that, and then that gives you the coordinates to plot your points. Okay, so there's question 15. So stop the video, have a go at that, and we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so for question 15, the key numbers in the question I've circled, or you can highlight them. So it's the new bicycle priced at $240. It's reduced by 35%, and they want to know the sale price. So you can either do it remembering that 35% is 35 over 100 multiplied by the amount, which is 240. Key that into your calculator and you get £84. So that's the amount that they're taking off, the 35% discount. But you've got to subtract that from the original price. So that's 240 take 84 is 156. So your sale price is 156. Or you can do it by working out 10% first. 10% of 240 is easy to work out. Dividing by 10, that's equal to 24. So 30% then is going to be 3 times the 10% number. 24 times 3 is 72. And then 5% is going to be half the 10% number. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So that gives you 35%. Same answer is £84, and you subtract it to get your sale price. Okay, so there's question 16. If you want to have a go at that, and just turn off the video, try and answer the question, then we'll go through it for you in a moment. Okay, so question 16, write down the nth term for the sequence 6, 12, 18 and 24. Right, first thing to remind you is that each of these terms, so 6 is the first term in this sequence. In other words, n is 1 for the first term. 12 is the second term, so this is n is equal to 2. The 18 is the third term. 24 is the fourth term, and so on. We're trying to find out a formula that will tell us what any term in this sequence is, whatever its number is. First thing to do is work out the rule. So look at what's happening when you go from 6 to 12. That's add 6. From 12 to 18 is add 6. From 18 to 24 is add 6. So the rule for this number sequence is add 6 plus 6. Whatever that number is in the rule, it goes in front of n. So we end up with 6n. That's the first part of the formula. Now we need to go and check, does that formula 6n give us the correct answer when we check it against the term numbers for our sequence. So if n is equal to 1, I'm going to put the number 1 in instead of n, so it's 6 times 1, which is 6, and that's correct. The first term of the sequence is 6, so 6n is correct. If n is equal to 2 for the second term of the sequence, I'm going to substitute the number 2 instead of n, so 6 times n becomes 6 times 2, which is 12, and that's correct also. So we've worked out that the formula for the nth term of this sequence is 6n. So 6 3s are 18, 6 4s are 24. If we wanted to know what the 10th term of the sequence, over here somewhere, it would be 6 times 10 is 60. So we now know, depending on what term number we want to know, we can just put it into our formula, 6n, and we'll get the answer. For the second part, we have a different number sequence. This time it's 4, 9, 14 and 19. So again, just to remind you, 4 is the first term, so that means n is equal to 1 because it's the first term. 9 is the second term, so n is equal to 2. 14 is the third term, so n is equal to 3. The term number is 3 for the third term, 14, and so on. To work out the rule, first, when you go from 4 to 9, that's add 5. When you go from 9 to 14, that's add 5. When you go from 14 to 19, that's add 5. So whatever that rule number is, that add 5, put it in front of the n, and we get 5n. But this time, like we did before, we've got to go back and check if that gives us the right answer. So let's look at term number 1. If n is equal to 1, and we're going to substitute 1 instead of n, so 5 times 1 is 5, but hang on, the number here is 4, so we've got to make an adjustment to the formula. We've got to take away 1. Let's try it for n is equal to 2 for the second term. This time it's 5 times 2 is 10, take away 1 is 9, so the formula is correct for the second term. Let's try it for n is equal to 3 for the third term. 5 times 3 is 15, take away 1 is 14, so it gives us the right answer. Try it for n is equal to 4 for the fourth term. 5 times 4 is 20, take away 1 is 19. So now we have a formula that works for all those terms. If we wanted to find the 10th term, we could substitute n is equal to 10 into this formula. 5 times 10 is 50, take away 1, so the 10th term would be 49. So our formula for the nth term, for any term in that sequence, is 5n minus 9. Okay, here's question 17. You're given a table of marks that 2 judges gave competitors in a gymnastics competition. There's the table. You've got a grid with 3 points already plotted, and you've got to complete the scatter graph, draw the line of best fit. You're given a Judge A marked someone 14 marks. You have to estimate what Judge B would give, and then finally identify the type of correlation. Okay, so question 17, you had to plot the remaining points on the scatter graph. So in red there, those are the points that still had to be plotted. Then part B was the line of best fit. So just to remind you, the line of best fit, you're aiming to go through the middle of the points with roughly the same number on each side of your line. So in this case there's about 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and the line goes through the middle of the points. Remember, you're not aiming for this point here. This point has got nothing to do with the line of best fit. Just concentrate on where the plotted points are and try and get your line of best fit through the middle of the points that have been plotted. Part C then, it said that Judge A had awarded a competitor 14 points, and you had to estimate what Judge B would award for that. So in this case you draw the line from 14 marks for Judge A, draw the line up to your line of best fit, and then across to Judge B, and as you can see that's reading off 13.8, which would be 14 for the nearest whole number mark. And then the last part was part D, which was what type of correlation is shown. And this, the way the points are going, the way the line of best fit is going, that's indicating positive correlation. So as this value increases, so also does this value. So Judge A 14, Judge B 14, Judge A 16, Judge B roughly 16. So as the marks are going up for each judge, the other mark is also going up. That's what's called positive correlation. Okay, so there's question 18A and 18B. If you switch off the video and have a go at those, I'll go through the solutions in a moment. Okay, so for question 18, we're asked here to find the area of a semicircular shape, and we're told that the diameter is 20 centimeters. So you need to remember the formula for the area of a complete circle is pi times r squared. So the area of a semicircle or half a circle is going to be a half pi r squared. So then we can substitute some numbers in. So half is obviously 0.5 times pi. Don't forget your pi key on the calculator, times the radius squared. And we know the diameter is 20, so the radius is half the diameter is 10. So that's the radius squared is 10 squared. When you key that into your calculator, you get 157.1. Part B, find the midpoint of the line joining point A, which has coordinates -1, 6, and B, which has coordinates 3, -2. The method for this is you get the two x coordinates, that's -1 and 3, add them together, so 3 minus 1 equals 2, or the other way around, it gives you the same answer, -1 add 3 gives you 2. Divide that answer by 2, which gives you 1, so the x coordinate of the midpoint is 1. Now we do the y coordinates. We're going to add the two y coordinates together and divide by 2. So the two y coordinates are 6 and -2. So 6 minus 2 is 4. Divide that by 2 gives us 2. So the coordinates of the midpoint are 1 and 2. Okay, so question 19. If you want to stop the video, try number 19 and then we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so question 19, we're trying to find this missing side here, and the first thing you need to notice is that this triangle is a right angle triangle. So it's a good idea to just draw the right angle triangle out in 2D, in 2 dimensions. This is a 3-dimensional drawing here, and here you can see we've got this side here is 16 centimeters. This side along the bottom is 85 centimeters. We've got a right angle there, and the sloping side opposite the right angle, it's got a special name called the hypotenuse, but we're using the letter R to indicate the hypotenuse. So there's a special theorem to use for this type of problem. It's called Pythagoras' theorem, and you need to remember that Pythagoras' theorem says the hypotenuse squared, which is R squared, is equal to this side squared plus this side squared. So we've got R squared is equal to 85 squared plus 16 squared. So obviously you need a calculator for this one. 85 squared is 7225, 16 squared is 256. When you add those together you get 7481. So we know that R squared is equal to 7481, but we have to find out what R is. So we've got to do the opposite of squaring, and that's called the square root. So we find the square root of 7481. Special key in your calculator. When you key that in, you get the answer 86.5. Okay, so question 20A and 20B. So if you want to stop the video and have a go at those, and then we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so question 20A, it gives us some information about the weight of a baby boy. 4 kilograms when it was born, but after 6 weeks he weighed 7 kilograms. What's the percentage increase? Right, you need to remember there's a little rule for working out percentage increase, and it's you work out the increase in weight. So in this case it's 7 take away 4, that's how much the weight is increased, and you put that over the original weight. You have to remember it's always the original weight on the bottom of the fraction. So, and we're multiplying that by 100 to change it into a percentage. So 7 take away 4 is 3, and we divide that by the original weight, which is 4, multiplied by 100. So if you want, you can key that into your calculator. 3 divided by 4 times by 100 is 75%. For 20B then, the key points are, he starts with 4,800. He's putting it in the bank for 2 years, and the interest is simple interest, and the percentage he gets each year on his account, on his money, is 3% per year. And they want you to work out how much does he have in total at the end of 2 years. So first of all, find 3% of 4,800. So remember, 3% is 3 out of 100, 3 over 100, multiplied by 4,800. If you key that into your calculator, 3 divided by 100 times by 4800, you get 144 pounds. He earns 144 pounds simple interest each year. In 2 years he earns twice that amount. That's what simple interest means. You just multiply the amount in 1 year by 2 for 2 years, or whatever the number of years is. So in 2 years he earns £288, but you have to add that on to his original amount of money to get the total he has at the end of 2 years. 4800 plus 288 is 5088. Okay, question 21A and B. So again, if you could stop the video and have a look at those, try them out, and we'll go through the answers in a minute. Okay, so we've got question 21A. It says write 84 as a product of prime factors and give your answer in index notation. Right, there's a special method for this, so we're going to try and find the numbers, the prime numbers that divide into 84, that are the factors, the prime factors of 84. The method is we write down the number 84, and we're going to start off with the smallest prime, which is 2. 2 divides into 84, and we get the answer 42. So we're going to keep trying 2 until that doesn't work anymore. 2 into 42, and we get the answer 21. So obviously 2 doesn't divide into 21 evenly, so we try the next biggest prime number, which is 3. 3 divides into 21, and we get the answer 7. So obviously 3 doesn't divide into 7 evenly, so we go on to the next prime number, which is 5. 5 doesn't divide into 7 exactly, so we go on to the next prime number, which is 7. And obviously 7 divides into 7, we get the answer 1. When we get 1 at the bottom there, that means we've come to the end, and we've worked out that our prime factors of 84 are 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 7. If you multiply those 4 prime numbers together, you get back to the number 84. Okay, so we've worked out what the prime factors are. The last thing to get the final mark, the final 1 mark, is to write it in index notation. So 2 times 2 is 2 squared, or 2 to the power of 2, multiplied by 3 multiplied by 7. So that's the final answer. Part B, this is a very common question in these papers, to find the highest common factor. It might be abbreviated HCF, and it stands for highest common factor of 84 and 8. And again, the words are in the question are giving you a clue. So we're going to find the factors of both numbers and then see what's the biggest number that appears in both lists. So the highest factor that's common to both lists. So the factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4 and 8. Factors of 84 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 12. At this stage you don't even need to go on, because already we're above the highest factor of 8, so we don't need to go any further, because we can see that the highest number that can possibly appear in both lists, it's not going to be 8 because there's no 8 in this list, so the highest number is going to be 4. So the highest common factor of 84 and 8 is 4. Okay, here's question 22A. It's a trial and improvement question, so have a go at that. Switch off the video and we'll go through the solution in a few minutes. Okay, so question 22, we have to solve this equation, x squared plus 4x equals 50, using trial and improvement. So we must use this method that we're just going to show you now. Any other method will not be accepted, because they want to see that you know how to follow this method. They tell you that the solution, the answer, is between 5 and 6. So hopefully straight away you can see that we're going to start with a number halfway between 5 and 6. So we're going to try x is equal to 5.5. So we're going to substitute that value for x into this equation and see what answer it gives us. So it tells us x squared plus 4x. So we're going to use x is equal to 5.5. So that's going to be 5.5 squared plus 4x is going to be 4 times 5.5. When you work that out, you get the answer 52.25. But that answer is supposed to be equal to 50. So in other words, our answer here is too big. So what are we going to do? We're going to adjust our guess next time. Instead of 5.5, we'll try a smaller number, because the last answer was too big. This time we'll try 5.4. So we're going to substitute 5.4 instead of x in our equation this time, so x squared becomes 5.4 squared, plus 4x becomes 4 times 5.4, and when you key that into your calculator you get 50.76. Again, the answer is supposed to be 50, and our answer is still too big, so we're going to write too big. That means that's going to give us guidance that our next guess should be smaller. This time we'll try 5.3. We're going to substitute 5.3 into our equation, so x squared becomes 5.3 squared, plus 4x becomes 4 times 5.3. When you key that into your calculator you get 49.29, and we compare that to 50. This time it's too small. So now we know that our answer is somewhere between 5.3 and 5.4, because we know one answer was too big, the other was too small. So the key now is to try halfway between 5.3 and 5.4, and that's 5.35. So again we substitute 5.35 instead of x, so x squared becomes 5.35 squared, plus 4x becomes 4 times 5.35. When you key all that into your calculator you get 50.022, and that's just slightly bigger than 50, still too big. So the way we get the last mark here is, if you do a little scale, we've shown that 5.4 gave an answer that was too big. We showed that 5.35 also gave an answer that was too big, and 5.3 gave an answer that was too small. So we know the final answer is somewhere in here. We don't know exactly where, but we know that somewhere in this area here of this scale is the correct answer, somewhere between 5.35 and 5.3. Now the thing about any answer in that part of the scale, it's always going to round down to 5.3. So 5.31 rounds to 5.3 to 1 decimal place. 5.34 rounds down to 5.3 to 1 decimal place. So any of those answers will all round to 5.3 to 1 decimal place. So our answer is 5.3. Okay, question 22b. If you just switch off the video and have a go at that, and then we'll go through the solution in a minute. Okay, question 22b. The instructions are to expand and simplify. So expanding means multiplying out the brackets, and what that means is the number in front, the 4, we're going to multiply the 4 by each of the terms inside the bracket. So it's going to be 4 multiplied by x gives us 4x, then 4 multiplied by plus 3 gives us plus 12, and then the same with the second bracket. The number outside the bracket, we're going to multiply that by each term inside the bracket. So it's 3 multiplied by 2x is 6x, and 3 multiplied by minus 5 is minus 15. So again, we've got terms that are the same there. We've got 4x here, and we've got another plus 6x here. So 4x plus 6x gives us 10x. And then the numbers, we've got 12 plus 12 minus 15. So 12 minus 15 gives us minus 3. So we combine those together to get our final answer, 10x minus 3. Okay, question 23. You're given a table with the results of a survey of 100 students. They were asked about the number of TV programs they watched. So you get a table with the frequency column and the number column, and you're asked to draw a frequency polygon. So if you want to have a go at that, and then we'll go through it in a moment. Okay, for question 23, this time it's a frequency polygon that you have to draw given this table of information. So we've got groups here for the number of programs that these students were watching, and the frequency tells us how many students were watching from 0 to 2 programs, how many students, 18, were watching from 2 to 4 programs, how many students, 32, were watching from 4 to 6 programs. So the first thing you need to remember about doing a frequency polygon is that you must work out the midpoint of each of the groups. So 0 to 2, the midpoint there of that group is 1. From 2 to 4, the midpoint is 3, and so on. 4 to 6, the midpoint is 5. So we're going to use the midpoint value as the one of the coordinates of the points that we plot. So we're going to plot 1 and 4, 3 and 18, 5 and 32, and so on. So have a look at the actual frequency polygon then. So remember, it's important that you have to plot the midpoint of the group. So it's 1 and 4. That's the point we plot for that. The second point was 3 and 18. That's the point we plot for that. The third point, the midpoint, was 5 and 32 is the frequency. Then 7 and 20, 9 and 16, and the last one was 11 and 10. So don't forget your labels. The vertical axis is frequency, the horizontal axis was number of TV programs, and the title, and that's your frequency polygon. All your marks hopefully guaranteed. Which class interval? That's the same as group. Which group contains the median number? Let's go back, look at the table here, because we can work it out from the table. So remember, there's 100 students, so the median is the middle of that whole group. So when you take the middle of 100, 100 divided by 2 is 50. So we're trying to find where is the 50th result in this table here. So there's the first 4 results there. There's another 18 there. So when we add those two numbers together, we get to 22. So we've got as far as 22, but we still want to get up to 50. So from 22 up to 50 is another 28 to get us up to 50. So in other words, the median is somewhere in this group here, because from 22 and another 28, we're in this group. So that means that the median group then is this one here, 4 to 6. So I'm just going to write it 4, and so the answer for that one is 4 less than n is less than or equal to 6. So that's the median number is within is in that group. The class interval or group is 4 to 6. Okay, this is question 24. It's a full page question, so it's hard to show it on the video here. So I think I'll just run through it. So we've got it's a flowchart type question. You can see we start here. It says to input some numbers for A, B and C. So there's a table at the bottom of the page. It says start with A is equal to 2, B is equal to 9, C is equal to 10, and we're going to work out what the values of S and T are. So let's look back in the flowchart. So it starts off by saying S is equal to A squared plus B squared. So for the first one, we're going to work out A was 2 squared plus B is, let me just check again, B is 9, so B is going to be 9 squared. So we're going to work that out, is 4 plus 81 equals 85. And in the same box it says work out T is equal to C squared. So we need to check what C is. C is 10 in the table, so that's going to be 10 squared, and that's equal to 100. So 85 and 100, does S is equal to T? Well, the answer is no, 85 doesn't equal to 100. So it says go in this direction, and we're going to add 1 to each of A, B and C, and we're going to go back round again and calculate A squared plus B squared and C squared and see if they're equal. So I'm going to go down to the table and we're going to finish these off. So the first one wasn't equal. S was equal to 85. T was equal to 10 squared, which was 100. So they weren't equal, so we're going to add 1 to each of these. So A becomes 3, B becomes 10, and C becomes 11. So again, we go round the flowchart again. S was A squared plus B squared, so I'll try that for the second set of numbers. This time it's 3 squared plus 10 squared. So that's 9 plus 100 equals 109. So that's 3 squared is 9, 10 squared is 100. We add those together, we get 109. And T, it tells us, is equal to C squared. This time C is 11. So that's going to be equal to 121. So is S equal to T? So again, I'll write those in. That's 109 and 121. So S is not equal to T, so the flowchart tells us to go round again and add 1 to each of the numbers. So it's going to be 4, 11 and 12. So again, we're going to go through this calculation again, where S is equal to A squared, which is 4 squared, plus B squared. This time B has gone up to 11 squared. So that's 16 plus 121 equals 37. And then T, which is equal to C squared. C is now 12, so that's 12 squared equals 144. And the question is S equal to T? No, it's not. They're still not equal. So the flowchart told us to go round again and add 1 to each of the numbers. So we add 1 to that and we get to 5, we get to 12, and we get to 13. And we're ready to go round again and calculate S is equal to A squared plus B squared. So it's going to be 5 squared plus 12 squared plus 12 squared. Let's see what that works out to be. 25 is 5 squared plus 144 is 12 squared. And that equals, when we add those together, we get 169. Then T is equal to C squared, which is 13 squared. And that's 169. You can do that in your calculator. So we've got 169, 169, and this time we find that S does equal to T. So it's not a no this time, it's a yes, and it tells us to print the values our last values, which came out with S is equal to T. So that means the final answer, A is equal to 5, B is equal to 12, and C is equal to 13. Okay.